The Wemding possession, Bavaria's forgotten exorcism of 1892 in a Bavarian pilgrimage town famous for miracles. A demonic force turned devotion into a battleground that tested faith itself. Long before the modern world reduced possession to cinema and skepticism, the Catholic Church maintained careful records of spiritual warfare conducted in silence, documented with precision, and resolved through ritual older than nations. In the Bavarian town of Wemding, nestled in the rolling countryside of southern Germany, such a battle unfolded in the closing years of the 19th century. What makes this case remarkable is not sensationalism, but documentation. Father Andreas Schmid, the parish priest who would become the primary investigator and exorcist, kept meticulous records of everything he witnessed. Those records, preserved in the Diocese of Augsburg archives, provide one of the most detailed German-language accounts of possession and exorcism from that era. This is the story of Margaretha Gump, a devout woman who became the center of a theological crisis in a town already famous for the miraculous. Wemding occupies a particular place in Bavarian Catholic tradition. For centuries, pilgrims traveled to the shrine of Our Lady of Wemding, seeking healing and spiritual consolation. The town witnessed documented cases of miraculous recovery, events investigated and authenticated by church authorities following protocols designed to separate genuine divine intervention from fraud or delusion. By 1891, Wemding's reputation as a place where the supernatural intersected with the natural world was firmly established across Catholic Germany. It was a town accustomed to the presence of the sacred. What arrived that year, however, was not sacred at all. Margaretha Gump lived quietly in Wemding with her husband and children. She attended Mass regularly, participated in the devotional life of the parish, and showed no signs of mental disturbance or spiritual crisis. Her physician knew her as a patient with no history of neurological disorder or psychological illness. In the autumn of 1891, that changed with a suddenness that alarmed everyone who knew her. The first episodes manifested as convulsions. Her family summoned the local physician, who examined her and found nothing that explained the severity or pattern of the seizures. She appeared healthy between episodes, but when the convulsions returned, they did so with increasing violence and duration. Then came the voices. Margaretha began speaking during episodes in tones and registers her family did not recognize. The words were often incomprehensible, but occasionally formed coherent statements in languages she had never studied. Her husband, terrified and bewildered, contacted Father Schmid. The priest arrived prepared to offer pastoral comfort to a woman suffering from illness. What he encountered instead convinced him he was witnessing something beyond the scope of medicine. Father Schmid observed Margaretha over the course of several weeks. He noted the timing of the episodes, the specific behaviors exhibited, and the reactions she displayed to religious objects. When he brought holy water into the room without announcing what it was, Margaretha reacted with immediate and violent revulsion despite having no way of knowing what he carried. When he held the consecrated Eucharist near her during an episode, her reaction intensified to a degree that required physical restraint by her family. These were not the behaviors of illness or deception. They followed a pattern Father Schmid recognized from his theological training, a pattern described in church texts on demonic affliction. During her lucid intervals, Margaretha expressed profound distress. She had no memory of what she said or did during the episodes. She described feeling trapped inside her own body, aware that something foreign controlled her movements and voice, but powerless to stop it. She begged Father Schmid for help, and he promised to do everything the church permitted. But he knew that exorcism was not a decision made lightly or quickly. The Bishop of Augsburg required evidence before authorizing such a procedure. Father Schmid compiled his observations into a formal report. He documented dates, times, witnesses, and specific behaviors. He included statements from Margaretha's family and from community members who had observed the episodes. He noted particularly the instances when Margaretha spoke in Latin with grammatical accuracy she could not have possessed through education. She had received only basic schooling and knew Latin only through memorized prayers. Yet during episodes, she constructed complex Latin phrases that demonstrated understanding of grammatical structures she had never been taught. Father Schmid understood that this detail alone carried significant evidential weight. The Bishop of Augsburg reviewed the report and ordered a medical examination before proceeding further. Two physicians examined Margaretha independently. Both documented the physical symptoms they observed directly. Both witnessed episodes during their examinations. Their written conclusions, preserved alongside Father Schmid's records, state clearly that no medical diagnosis known to them accounted for the phenomena they witnessed. The convulsions did not match known seizure patterns. The strength Margaretha displayed during episodes exceeded what her physical condition suggested possible. The reactions to sacred objects occurred consistently and could not be explained through psychological suggestion, as she often reacted before being informed what objects were present. With medical documentation complete, the bishop authorized a formal investigation into possible demonic possession. The decision carried weight beyond the individual case. Wemding's status as a pilgrimage site meant that a possession case that would attract attention throughout Catholic Germany. The diocese understood that proceedings must be conducted with exceptional care and transparency. Father Schmid was authorized to begin preliminary prayers and observations under the guidance of experienced clergy familiar with discernment protocols. The entity made itself known during these preliminary sessions. Through Margaretha's voice, something spoke that was distinctly not Margaretha. It named itself, though Father Schmid's records do not specify the name given, following the common ecclesiastical practice of not publicizing demonic identifications. The entity described its purpose as the destruction of faith in a place dedicated to devotion. It demonstrated knowledge of private matters concerning those present, information Margaretha herself could not have obtained. On multiple occasions, it addressed Father Schmid directly, referencing aspects of his personal spiritual life and struggles known only to him and his confessor. This targeting of the exorcist represents one of the most disturbing aspects of genuine possession cases. The entity attempted to undermine Father Schmid's confidence and spiritual authority by exposing vulnerabilities and doubts he had shared with no one. These attacks were documented in his personal journal, portions of which were later included in the diocesan case file. Father Schmid writes of feeling assaulted not physically, but spiritually, experiencing temptations to abandon the case and doubts about his own worthiness to conduct the exorcism. He credits his spiritual director and the support of the bishop with giving him the strength to continue. Margaretha's physical health deteriorated throughout the winter of 1891 and early 1892. The episodes became more frequent and more violent. She lost weight despite her family's efforts to maintain her nutrition. There was genuine concern that she might not survive if the possession continued. Her physician documented the decline and stated frankly in his reports that absent some intervention beyond medical science, the prognosis was poor. The Bishop of Augsburg authorized the formal administration of the rite of exorcism in the spring of 1892. Father Schmid would officiate, assisted by other clergy and under the direct oversight of representatives from the diocese. The location chosen was not the family home, but a chapel associated with the Wemding shrine. The diocese made the deliberate choice to conduct the exorcism in a place of established sacred significance, calling upon the intercession of Our Lady of Wemding in the spiritual battle about to unfold. The exorcism sessions extended over several months. Father Schmid's records indicate that progress was slow and that the entity resisted with increasing desperation as the prayers continued. Margaretha endured physical torment during the sessions, convulsing and displaying reactions to the sacramentals that her family found almost unbearable to witness. Yet between sessions, she expressed determination to continue, understanding that her only hope for freedom lay in seeing the process through to completion. The final session occurred on a feast day of the Blessed Virgin Mary. The diocese chose the timing deliberately, invoking the protection and intercession of Mary, in whose honor the Wemding shrine had been established. Father Schmid, along with assisting clergy and family members who served as witnesses, began the prayers early in the morning. The session lasted hours. Margaretha's suffering during this final confrontation was severe enough that those present later described it as the most difficult thing they had ever witnessed. Then, as the prayers reached their conclusion, Margaretha convulsed with particular violence, her body arching in a manner witnesses described as physically impossible. She collapsed, lay completely still for several minutes, and then opened her eyes. The change was immediate and unmistakable. Her family recognized instantly that she had returned fully to herself. She spoke in her normal voice, recognized everyone present, and asked what day it was. She had no memory of the exorcism session itself, but expressed immediate relief at feeling free for the first time in months. The physician who had documented her decline was summoned to examine her. His report, written the same day, describes her as restored to complete health. The convulsions ceased entirely. The reactions to sacred objects disappeared. She attended Mass the following Sunday without incident, receiving the Eucharist she had been unable to approach for over a year. Father Schmid documented her recovery over the following weeks and months. No symptoms returned. Margaretha Gump lived the remainder of her life without recurrence of possession, raising her children and participating normally in the community life of Wemding. The case became part of the internal documentation of the Diocese of Augsburg, but was not widely publicized during Margaretha's lifetime, following the Church's general practice of protecting the privacy of those who survive such ordeals. After her passing many years later, the case files were studied by German Catholic scholars researching the Church's historical approach to possession and exorcism. What they found was a model of proper ecclesiastical procedure. Skepticism, medical parallel investigation, careful documentation, episcopal oversight, and formal ritual conducted only after alternative explanations had been thoroughly exhausted. The Wemding case demonstrates how the 19th century Church ideally handled claims of demonic possession when institutional controls functioned as designed. Father Schmid did not rush to judgment. He documented what he observed, sought medical expertise, submitted his findings to higher authority, and proceeded only with explicit authorization. The bishop required evidence meeting specific criteria before permitting exorcism. The physicians examined Margaretha professionally and documented their findings honestly, including the admission that known medical science could not explain what they witnessed. The exorcism itself followed established liturgical protocol and was conducted with witnesses present to verify what occurred. This procedural rigor stands in sharp contrast to the sensationalized possession narratives that dominate popular culture. The Wemding exorcism involved no dramatic single confrontation, but rather months of careful spiritual work. The entity did not depart in a Hollywood moment of special effects, but left as Margaretha's body finally relaxed into peace after sustained prayer and sacramental intervention. The aftermath involved no fame or publicity for those involved, but rather quiet pastoral care and continued medical monitoring to ensure complete recovery. The archival record Father Schmid left behind serves as primary source material for understanding how possession cases were investigated and resolved in an era when the Church maintained institutional memory of such phenomena and standardized responses to it. His journals, the medical reports, the episcopal correspondence, and the formal record of the exorcism proceedings together constitute one of the most complete documentary collections of a 19th century possession case preserved in German Catholic archives. Wemding itself continues to attract pilgrims seeking healing and spiritual consolation at the shrine of Our Lady. The town's association with both miraculous healing and demonic confrontation has made it a quietly significant location in Bavarian Catholic spiritual geography. The case of Margaretha Gump is remembered in German Catholic scholarship as evidence that the Church's encounter with genuine demonic affliction did not end with the medieval period, but continues wherever faith confronts forces opposed to it. If you found this case compelling, subscribe to Vanishing Roads for more documented paranormal investigations from around the world. This story was created with AI assistance based on documented case files. All events reference real investigations and reported incidents.